In this video, we're gonna go over every single character's Epiphany upgrades and figure out which ones are the best for which cards. First of all, I want to mention that there are some basic tips I can give you, so you can figure out yourself what Epiphany upgrade is how good and which Epiphany upgrade for which card you should take. So the basic rules are that you want to maintain the effects that the card already has. In this example right here, we deal 50% damage 2 times and we create a handgun bullet equal to the number of critical hits. You see, these 2 effects are what you want to remain. You do not want to change the effects that the card has in its basic form. That is a very important rule, and what it most of the times boils down to is that, as I said, you want to remain the effects that the card already has, and you just want to increase on the effect or the number that this card has. Of course, in some cases, like this rapid fire card here, you have to understand why this card is in your kit. Why does Luke have access to this card? What is this card supposed to do? And in this case it is that it creates handgun bullets, as many of them as possible. The damage here doesn't matter too much because it is very low, right? It's 100% damage. So we want to create these handgun bullets. How do you create these handgun bullets? You have to crit. In order for you to crit, you have to increase the critical hit chance, and you want to increase the number of times that you attack with this card, so that you have the highest amount of chance to actually create the handgun bullets, because this is what this card is all about. This is the only example I will give, because this video would otherwise be way too long. It will already be really long because we go over every single card and every single character. But with that out of the way, we now know what we want. We want to attack more, and if we can, we want to increase the critical hit rate. This would be the most effective way to increase this card's effectiveness. So let's take a look at the Epiphanies, and here we can see that there is actually a card that increases the critical hit rate. Okay, but we draw cards equal to the critical hits, and we would not create the bullets anymore. This is how you immediately know that you don't want this upgrade at all, because again, you want to remain the effects that the basic card already has. So we figured out that we want to attack as many times as possible, and you can see here, this is the only card that keeps our basic effects, right? We deal the damage, we create the handgun bullets, and here we attack 3 times, so that gives us a higher chance to create more bullets than we would usually do. So there we go. That's how you find out what the best Epiphany upgrade is, right? There you go. So for this card, it is attack 3 times instead of just 2. There we go. Now, as I said, I won't go in that much detail for every single card. We now go over every card, and I'm just gonna tell you what the best Epiphany upgrade for that card is. Here, create 2 handgun bullets. What is this card gonna do? 3 bullets, right? Here we have 2 options. It depends a little bit. I think this one is the best here because you could just create 1 more bullet. That's what the card does, and the effect is increased. You could make an argument for using this, turning this for 0 AP into an upgrade that gives you a bullet every single turn guaranteed. But here's another basic rule, that you should never, or almost never, turn cards into upgrades if you do not gain the effect to have this 100% guaranteed in your starting hand, because if you draw this late, then it's shit. You will not get the value that you want out of this card if you draw it too late, right? But on the other hand, if you draw this on turn 1, it's absolutely fantastic and the best upgrade. But you want to be consistent, and you don't want to be screwed up by RNG. So if we draw this card late, it doesn't get the value out of it. If we instead just create flat out 3 bullets, we are always every single time we draw this card, we have guaranteed good value out of this card, and this is why this is the best upgrade here. Cool. Then we can move on to the next card. Here, seize the opportunity, 100% shield, 120% damage for the next bullet. We want to increase the damage of the next bullet. Then we're gonna take a look. Here, this is the perfect thing, because we get more shield and the damage of our next bullet card deals more damage. That's gonna be the best upgrade there. And that's it for Luke. We can move on to the next character, which will be Khalipe. So let's take a look at Vulture Ejection. Here the core mechanic of Khalipe is called Heaven, and that says whenever a card with a cost of 2 or higher is activated, then this card here would be played for free. Cards with Heaven are played for free if an ally or ourselves plays a cost with 2 or higher. So that is what we of course want to keep, and we just wanna increase the effect of this card as much as possible. Defense-based damage to all allies, to all enemies, and shield plus Silver Veil. So we wanna maintain all of these 3 effects. That means this one here in the middle, it increases the defense-based damage and the shield value, plus we get the Silver Veil. So that is the best upgrade for this card here. Then moving on to the next card, this one here, defense-based damage 100%, we want to keep that. Cost plus 1, 100 damage. Okay, we want to increase the damage output from this card as much as possible. There we go, this is going to be the best choice for this card. Also, we could go for an upgrade here that turns this card into a 2-cost card, because if we would play it, then Vulture Ejection would be upgraded. And that means that this upgrade here would be the best, because this card would not be discarded. You can keep it in your hand and play it later in case you don't have Vulture Ejection in your hand right now. There we go, and we deal more damage with it to all enemies. So there we go, those are 2 good options here. Further on here, overpower 200 shield and the tenacity damage to all enemies. We want to increase the shield and the tenacity damage to all enemies, and this one is the best right here. It deals more, it grants us more shield, and it deals more tenacity damage to all enemies. Here we go. This card already cost 2, so nothing to worry about here. Rally, that is a little bit of an exception of a card, because this one here has the ability to gain Haven, and that is of course the best thing you can possibly do with Khalipe. So turn Rally into having this Raven mechanic. We can move on to the next character, who will be Magna. Looking at the ability Ice Fragment first, this is an upgrade, and whenever you can get an Epiphany for an upgrade card, as I said earlier, then you want to have this guaranteed in your starting hand. And this is it, Outbreak of War. This places the card on top of your draw pile at the start of the battle, so this is going to be the most consistent and best choice here for the Ice Fragment. Moving on to the next ability, excuse me, what is it? It is Glacial Iron Fist. It deals base damage. We want to increase that damage, and that's going to be about it. So we're going to increase it by roughly 100%. Moving on to the next card, it's going to be Ice Wall, Shield, Counter Attack, Easy. We want to increase the counter attack. So this choice here is going to be the best. More shield, more counter attack, and perfect. Next card is Frost Charge here, 100% shield, 2 vulnerable. We want to increase the vulnerable that this card applies, and this one right here increases it from 2 to 3, so that is our best choice for Magna. Rin is all about attacking a lot of times and increasing her damage count. So this one right here that increases the damage count is by far the best Epiphany upgrade you can possibly go for. Then Dark Mist of Secret Art Destruction. You completely want to change this card's effect to recovering both of your main abilities from the graveyard. This is a key Epiphany upgrade and a must-have for Rin. Then we have Dark Mist Secret Annihilation. Here you can see the damage count is increased by 1 again, and we wanna take one of the upgrades here, which lets us attack multiple times, because we are all about triggering the morale boost that we obtain from the character Ray, and we want to trigger this morale as much as possible, and therefore we want to increase our damage count and attack as much as possible. So attacking 2 times instead of just 1 is always going to be the most effective way. And the best way to do this right here, you can see, you either increase your critical hit rate by 100%, or you make it so that Dark Mistblade art plus 2 hits. That is way better. That makes even more use of the morale. So this one right here is gonna be the best upgrade for Dark Mist Secret Annihilation. And for Dark Mist Inner Art, we have the Epiphany upgrade to create one of our key cards by using this one and granting it an additional effect with Ephemeral, which says that if this card is in your hand at the end of the turn, you exhaust it. Splendid. We again create one of our key cards with one of our other cards, so it adds a whole bunch of consistency, and this is always the best thing. And that was it for Rin. We can move on to the next character here, which is Magna. And with Magna you want to create as many creation cards as possible. You can see this right here, create 2 creation 1-star cards. We want to create 3 creation 1-star cards, easy as that. It's pretty simple and straightforward with Magna actually here. This is our card that heals. We want to increase the heal to 100%, and we want to apply Vulnerable 2 to all enemies. Then the next card is Annoying. Fixed damage equal to the number of cards in hand. Here again, we want to deal damage with this card a little bit, but we can also create a creation 1 card for each target hit with this. This gives us 3 creation cards, and therefore this is kind of a must have right here. Then we have Growing Creature, create 1 creation card, and if you retain this, the creation card that you will create will be stronger. Again, we want to create more creation cards, and this Epiphany upgrade right here allows us to do exactly that. Let's move on and talk about Mei Lin. Mei Lin is a main DPS character that is all about hitting often and applying Ember through these hits. So we're gonna turn the Flame, Dragon's Jewel, into something that makes us able to help with stacking this Ember. Then her Rising Dragon Spire that deals damage and applies Ember. We want this to hit 1 more time, so we're gonna use this Epiphany here. Then Unity of Attack and Defense, that is our draw engine, and we want to make this more consistent by applying 50% damage, shield and heal to the card that we draw with it. We have Spirit of the Automata. When using a card, 20 damage for 1 turn. We want this to be in our starting hand every single turn, so we add the Outbreak of War mechanic to this card. Let's move on to Veronica. She's all about the mechanic of reload, so that her ballistas deal more damage at the end of the turn. Here, Firing Preparation update. The one that you want is the Enhanced Ballista, because that simply increases the flat damage, and you're gonna get the most amount of value from this upgrade. For Repose, you wanna be able to play this card for 0 AP. Next up is Pendant of Resolution, that says whenever another combatant uses a skill card, you gain 1 reload, and you want to gain the most amount of reload stacks out of this as consistently as possible. So adding a 50% chance to gain an additional reload is by far the best option. It's kind of a requirement here. Then we have Sir Kowalski, who chooses a ballista and increases that ballista's damage, and you simply want to add a plus 30% ballista damage to this card, and that is gonna be the most the most amount of consistency that you can get out of this. And that was it for Veronica. Let's move on to Renoa. Renoa is all about creating dirge bullets. So Echo of Sorrow, you can see we create a dirge bullet. We want to create 1 more dirge bullet, while remaining the damage output. Very simple and straightforward. Then we have instant judgment, 180% damage, and if a bullet, a dirge bullet, is in your hand, you discard one and deal 100% damage. Perfect. We just want to increase the damage output here, and how we do this is with this upgrade here, increasing the damage to 270% and 150 per discard, right? Easy as that. Then we have Ballad of Pitch Black, who attacks 3 times and plus 20% damage for each dirge bullet in hand. That is again fantastic, and we just want to increase the damage output here. And how you're gonna do this is with this card right here, increase the damage to 75, excuse me, and 30%. Easy as that. And I think, oh no, we have one more card here, Flower of Devoured Fate. Discard 2, create that many dirge bullets. We want to discard more to create more bullets, and how we do this is with this right here, we discard 3 instead of 2, so we create one more dirge bullet. And that's it for Renoa. Let's move on to the next character, who will be Hugo. Hugo is the same character as Veronica. Veronica wants to gain stacks of reload, while Hugo wants to gain stacks of commence the hunt. So we want to get as many stacks of commence the hunt as possible, but there is no Epiphany upgrade that would accomplish that. And you can see here that the only Epiphany upgrade that maintains the Outbreak of War, which we absolutely need, is this one on the very left hand side. All the other Epiphany upgrades here would not guarantee you to have this card in your starting hand, and you would completely destroy the entire character of Hugo. So you have to get this Epiphany upgrade that reduces the cost to 0, otherwise you make your character unplayable. Then we have Fan of Daggers. We want to deal as much damage as possible with this card, and the way we accomplish that is by increasing the damage output, if under command stand, which we will always be, from 90% to 100%. Then we have Quick Fix here. We have 2 different options. Either we increase the damage from 80% to 120, or we only increase it to 100, but then we draw 2 cards. Whatever you like better here is what you can go for. Both of them are super valuable. I personally prefer the 100% damage variant, but drawing 2 cards is not too shabby either. Then we have Dingo Howling. 100% shield, 2 commence the hunt stacks. It has an Epiphany that gives you 3 commence the hunt stacks, so this is the obviously best choice here for Dingo Howling. That's it about Hugo. Now next up we have Haru. Haru is all about finding Anchor Shot and dealing as much damage as possible with it. Here you have the ability Anchor Shot, and what you want to do is you want to increase the flat damage output for that Anchor Shot, for obvious reasons of course. Then we have Anchor Pointer. Here we have 2 different good Epiphanies. I prefer this one. This one is the one that I would recommend, that if you if you search out your Anchor Shot, that Anchor Shot will deal 20% more damage. That is splendid. But here's another one that would add a 25% critical chance to Anchor Shot. That is also clutch. It depends a little bit on how much of a gambler you are. I prefer the guaranteed value and consistency, so I recommend this one here, 20% flat damage to that Anchor Shot. Alright. Then we have Power Charge, who, AoE damage or single target, and we want to increase the flat damage for this card. Here's another good option, because Haru is quite AP heavy, and here you have the option to you increase the damage to all enemies still by a pretty significant amount, and if you combo this card, which you can easily do, then you can reduce the cost of this card to 1. Can help, but you lose the added effect of single target damage increase, like this one has. So again, I prefer this one. This gives me more guaranteed value and a little bit of flexibility because I can deal more damage to single targets with this, but changing the cost is also quite viable here. Then we have charge fully, 1 turn, 30% attack card damage. You want to increase this to 40%. Again, this is for anchor shot, and there we go, obvious choice. That's it for Haru. We can move on to the next character, which will be Kayron. I already talked about Kayron in deep detail in my how to play Kayron video, so in case you want a little bit more talk, go and check that video out. Here for this one, you want to simply create 3 futility cards instead of just 2, pretty self-explanatory. Then we have Brand of Annihilation. You want to simply increase the flat damage output from 300 to 450. For Black Hole, you want to again increase the damage output, and how you do this is with this here, 360 and 60. Excuse me, it's this one, don't make a mistake. His Epiphany upgrades are very, very important because, yeah, you can destroy the entire character. Then we have Oath of Vanity, which you want to guarantee yourself to have this in your starting hand and play it for 0 AP. That is quite overpowered and by far the best upgrade there. And that's it for Kayron. Let's move on to Nia. Nia is all about healing and adding consistency, via drawing cards. So for the G chord card, this one here is the best, that you reveal the top 3 cards, you choose one and you activate it. That is actually pretty clutch. Then her next card is Mute Accent. You discard a card with the highest cost. You want to turn this into discarding the lowest cost card, and you heal with it because you should play Nia together with Rin and Ray, and therefore activating the lowest cost cards has more beneficial effects than you discarding the card with the highest cost. Here's Soul Rip. Heals, and for 1 turn, when a card is discarded, you gain a Decibel. Here you wanna activate the next Decibel effect 1 more time. Yes, this increases the cost of the card, but it doesn't matter because Rin and Ray are very AP friendly, so having Nia a little bit more on the costly side is not something detrimental. Of course, the Epiphany here changes if you don't play Nia with Rin and Ray, as you should, but with something else. The upgrade here is, of course, it depends on who do you play Nia with then, right? But again, you should play her with Rin and Ray, and then it is recommended to activate the Decibel effect 1 more time while increasing the card's cost. We have Adagio, draw 1, discard 1. You wanna draw 2, discard 2. That is as easy as it gets. And that's about Nia. Let's move on to the next character, which is this one here. I forgot her name, excuse me. Her name is Selena, excuse me. Selena is who we are talking about. Here, high power scope, it applies 2 marks, and you want these marks to deal more damage, 50% more damage for the next turn. That is going to be splendid there. Then we have target spotted, 150% damage, and a mark to a random enemy. You want to apply more marks with this, of course, by using this upgrade here. If the target is already marked, you apply 2 additional marks. Here you have a little bit of a choice, because this one right here that says when you draw this card you deal 200% damage to a random enemy is also pretty nuts, but since we are all about applying marks, this one here is actually the recommended one. Next up we have Drone Bombing, 120% damage to all enemies, and it applies a passion weakness. You want to turn this one into something that also applies marks, of course, and here 2 marks to all enemies if you combo this card. That is pretty incredible, if I'm being honest. Next up we have Tactical Maneuver, 150% shield and 2 tenacity damage. Here you have also multiple options. I would prefer this one here, turning this into a straight up damaging ability. 150% damage and 150% tenacity damage of this card is quite incredible. But you could also turn this again into something that marks your enemies here. Shield, tenacity damage and marks on enemies in a Ravage state. Ravage is that when the monster's tenacity is fully reduced, you activate the effect. If Ravage, you gain an action point, right? You gain AP. Yeah, this ability also quite good, but the recommended one is like just go for the flat damage output with Selena here. And that's about it. That's it for Selena. Next up, let's talk about Tressa. Tressa is all about creating shadow daggers, applying agony and profiting from this agony. Here, with this skill card that creates 2 shadow daggers, we want to turn this into creating 3 shadow daggers. Then Curse for 1 turn. When using attack cards, we apply Agony. We wanna increase the duration from this from 1 turn to 2 turns. Then we have Shadow Reload. This one has a crazy cracked Epiphany upgrade, and it is this one here. You're 100% guaranteed to have this in your starting hand, and now whenever you are healed with a skill card, you create a dagger. That is absolutely ridiculous. Then next up we have Vital Attack. This one is also quite nice. I love this card. Here you want to trigger this attack 1 more time. This one right here, 200 damage 2 times. If the target has 3 agony, which it will always have, then you trigger this attack 1 more time. Nutty damage output. And I think that's already about it. Yeah, pretty straightforward here. Let's move on to the character Amir. Amir is all about stacking something called Metallize, and whenever she would then gain a shield, she would perform a follow-up attack. So this is what we are all about. Hovering Metal, 3 damage reduction and 2 Metallize. We want to get as much Metallize out of this card as possible. You have, like, yeah, it kind of has 4 viable options and only 1 bad one. This is the bad one, this is the one that you would never take. Of course, the best one that you want is this, that it applies Haven, that whenever an ally uses a cost with 2 or higher, you play this simply for free. It gives you 3 Metallize stacks instead of 2. But you can also add 4 Metallize to this card, but I think having 3 by playing this card for free is better than having 4 Metallize. You can also go nutty with the counter attack, right? Everything is viable. The best choice is this one right here that applies Heaven or Haven or whatever this thing is called, right? Doesn't matter. Here, Metal Piece. This is where things get a little bit interesting. This deals 90% damage 2 times. It's defense based, of course, and if in metallization state, -1 metallization and 2 vulnerable. We want to fix that. We do not want to. Yeah, wait, let me talk about it. So it depends. If you play Amir as your main DPS, then you want this card to deal as much damage as possible. So this one right here that deducts your metallization by -2 would be the best option if you play as a main DPS. If you play as your sub DPS, you want to get rid of this deduction of metallization and instead turn it into something that gives you metallization. And then this one right here would be the best choice. That applies vulnerable so that your main DPS can deal additional damage and you gain metallization instead of losing it. So you keep performing these follow-up attacks, right? Easy as that. Pretty cool if you ask me though. Here, Metal Extraction, 2 Metallization, 2 Resolve for 1 turn. Again, we want to get as much metallization out of our cards as possible. How we gonna do this is either we buff the metallization to 3 and the resolve to 3, or we gain 3 metallization and for 1 turn we deal 30% extra metallization damage. That is also extremely viable. Maybe even the best choice. It comes down. You either take this here with 3/3 or 3 and 30% more damage. Both absolutely fantastic upgrades. Then last but not least we have the Full Metal Hurricane. Pretty awesome attack name. 200 damage for 1 turn. All enemies targeted by metallization they gain like plus 20% damage that we deal to them, of course. This is a fantastic card, and all we want here is to increase the flat damage numbers. So how are we gonna do this? Here, this is again a card where it depends if you play Amir as your main or your sub DPS. If you play Amir as your main DPS, you want this here. 3 attacks, all enemies, you decrease metallization for beneficial effects, right? But if you play as your sub DPS, you want to simply deal more damage through the metallization effect. And that's gonna be about it. That's it about Amir. We can move on to the next character, which will be Lucas. Lucas is all about creating bullets, launcher bullets in fact. And here the extended magazine, that is an obvious choice here, Outbreak of War. You are one excuse me, you are 100% guaranteed to have this card in your starting hand all the time. It costs 0, that is by far always the best option. We know how this goes by now. Here 100% damage plus 40% bullet card damage for 1 turn. You want to increase the bullet card damage here as much as possible. And how you do this is with this upgrade here, that the damage of the next bullet card that you play is increased by a whooping 120%. That is a lot, that's pretty nuts, and that's gonna be the best choice. Flamethrower here, yeah, there are a lot of weird choices here. It doesn't really make sense to create bullets with this card because it costs 2. That would lead to you not really being able to play a bullet anyways, right? Yeah, you could play 1, right, but maybe 2 if you play Mika and stuff, but it's the fact still stands that this one here is the best, that you deal just 270 damage to all enemies, and if this crits, you deal an additional 150% to all enemies. That is, in my opinion, the best choice. This one is a little bit debatable, right? You could also say, hey, I wanna create a launcher bullet here, create launcher bullets based on the target's hit and stuff, but yeah, in my opinion, gambling for the crit is the best choice and can be the most nuts. Then we have Flashbang, 120% damage to all enemies, weaken if the target has a shield, plus damage. That is already fantastic. What we want to do here is just increase the flat damage output for both of these effects. And I think that's it about Lucas. Yep, it is. So let's move on to the next character, which is gonna be this girl. I also forgot her name. Maribell is her name. We are talking about Maribell here. She's all about counter-attacking, by the way. Here, Resolute Blitz, defense-based damage, 1 counter-attack. We turn this into 2 counter-attacks. Pretty straightforward right there. Here, Maribell's Shelter, MK number 2. It depends here again, just as it is with Amir. If you play Maribell as your main DPS, you want to increase the cost of this card by 1 and increase the damage output here significantly to 280%. If you play her as your sub DPS, you want this attack to hit all enemies, to apply the most amount of shields to your team as you possibly can. Then we have Wolf's Dome. You want this to turn into a 0 cost card that you always are guaranteed to have in your starting hand every single time. And we have OIC, that grants you 100% shield, a counter attack, and a weaken to all enemies. You turn this into 150% shield and 2 counter attacks. That's it. A very straightforward and simple and easy character to play. Next up we have Mika, of course. Here, Source of Water. We are all about applying the most amount of AP to our team as possible, and therefore we're gonna go for this upgrade here, which gives us a huge turn in which we can apply huge combos by getting +3 AP for the turn. Then we have the Blessing of Waves that heals equal to the number of AP that we have at the time, and this one you want to turn into simply increasing the amount that you heal. So this one right here with 150% heal is gonna be your best choice. You also get an additional wave applied. Wave is that whenever you hit you stack wave, and if you hit 3 stacks of wave, you heal your team. So here we have tactical analysis, 1 wave, and for 1 turn your healing is increased by 50%. You want to turn this into getting 2 waves, of course, and you increase your healing by 50% flat, and you turn this into an upgrade. Now again, you know how this issue that if you have an upgrade that is not guaranteed to be in your starting hand, it is not like truly super amazing. So you could simply turn this into getting 2 waves, or you can turn this into a heal, right? Many good options here. So you have to make the choice for yourself. If you want my recommendation, I would go for turning this into a heal, right? Or yeah, like getting 2 waves out of it with this one right here. For 1 turn your healing is increased by 100%, is also pretty good. So for this one you will have to make the choice for yourself here a little bit. Then we have Whirlpool, which 200% damage to all enemies, and you heal 50% equal to all targets hit. You want to increase the amount that you recover by targets hit, which is this one right here, 100%. Heal equal to the number of targets hit. Pretty easy choice right there. And that's it about Mika. Let's move on to the next character, which is Beryl. Now Beryl hits pretty good damage numbers right out of the gate, and you just simply want to increase these numbers as much as possible. You can see this here as an example, 120% damage, and you retain +1 hit, right? That is not what matters a lot. Matters a lot is a damage output of 120, and we want to simply increase this by 180 while remaining the +1 hit for the retain. Then charged shot deals 200 damage, and the retain damage is 80. We want to increase this from 200 to 300, and we even increase the retain damage to 120 here as well. Then guilty pleasure, you draw 3, and you want to turn this into draw 3 +1 morale to boost the damage output from your team by 20% for the turn. We have unlimited firepower. Here we have 2 very good choices. Either you gain 150% shield, and the next attack card that you use deals plus 120% damage. What I personally prefer and what I would recommend is that simply the next attack damage, like the next attack card that you use, will deal plus 160 instead of just 120%, but you lose the shield. So make that choice for yourself. My recommendation is the 160% variant here. And I think that's already about it for Beryl. Let's move on to Cassius. So Cassius is very flexible, but for his pop-eyed popper it is actually very simple what to take. You always want to be able to have this in your starting hand to start a quest right out of the gate in every single battle, right? That is by far the best choice. There is no competition here. Then we have Devil Dice. That one is a little bit questionable. Here you have 2 viable options. Either you draw the card for free, but you decrease the damage that this card deals. Drawing a card for 0 AP is very good. Don't underestimate this. Or you deal 160% damage to all enemies, and you draw a card for every single target that you hit. This is my personal favorite. The card draw I gained from this is out of control in my opinion, and the most valuable thing. But playing this for 0 is also very good to like cycle through your deck to obtain the cards that you actually want. I prefer the one where I draw for every target hit though. Then we have Shuffle, which is also a pretty interesting one. Of course, you can turn this into a 0 AP card, and you can then recover cards from your discard pile. This can be absolutely insanely clutch. It depends a little bit of who you play Cassius with. Cassius is so broken and so versatile that it really depends on who do you play him with here. But yeah, I mean, selecting 5 cards from your discard pile to put them onto your draw pile, you recover cards from your discard pile for 0 AP. That is absolutely incredible. Although, like, if you want my recommendation or you want to know what I do, I play Cassius together with the character Kayron. Kayron's cards cost are reduced by the number of cards that I have exhausted. So giving this card exhaust 2 instead of just 1 is the most beneficial thing for me, as I play this guy with Kayron. So I always go for this upgrade. You have these 2 choices, right? Either you go for exhaust 2 if you play with Kayron. If you don't play him with Kayron, I would recommend you recover your cards from the discard pile. But again, there are multiple different good choices here, and it depends on who do you play him with. Then next up we have Dice Trick. 240% damage. You decrease this, okay, you decrease the cost by this card based on the number of quests you have completed. So you will play this for free. This deals a very high amount of damage, and you simply want to increase the base damage of this card from 240 to 360. That's a 100% damage increase. It's incredible, and it hits like an absolute truck. So this is what I highly recommend. And that's about Cassius, guys. Let's move on to Owen. Owen is a character that is pretty bad on the surface, but his Epiphany upgrades make him a very, very good character. His Epiphany upgrades are pretty key to make this a viable character. And here, for his ability Wind Charge, you want to have this upgrade right here that says next skill card used activates 1 more time. This is crazy. I personally use this to activate the skill card of a Mika that gives me +1 AP 1 more time, so I gain 2 AP. And this card has the Epiphany upgrade that I get 3 AP. And with this card right here, not only do I get double heal out of it, but I get 6 AP for the turn. It's absolutely ridiculous. Then Wind Charge, that is very, very simple. You simply want to reduce the cost of this card. All the other upgrades here are pretty bad, even detrimental. This one sounds good, it is absolute trash though. Go simply for the cost reduction. The other upgrades here are not too great. Then Break Armor also has such a good upgrade here, because you apply 3 vulnerable, and when you use Wind Charge, you move this card from your discard pile to your hand. Damn, that is really good. Then Wind Riding, 150% shield, and you move Wind Charge from the discard pile to your hand. Now you want to turn this into not moving Wind Charge into your hand, which is not bad, right? But you want to change this to moving 2 of your own cards from the discard pile to your hand. The chance of you actually getting Wind Charge, if you play this right, you will get Wind Charge and something else plus the shield, right? Yeah, you have to be a little bit aware of what actually is in your discard pile, but if you play this card correctly, it is the best Epiphany upgrade available here, for sure. And that's about Owen already. Let's move on to the last character to cover, which is Rei. Okay, so Rin, you have to play Rin together, Rei. You have to play Rei together with Rin. If you don't play Rei together with Rin, don't play Rei at all, and you will see why. Here, Strike of Darkness. It deals 100 damage and for 1 turn plus 100% basic attack card damage. Alright, now her Epiphany upgrade increases this even more. Here, you deal more damage and the basic attack card damage is further increased. That is very incredible, because if you go and you look at the character Rin, Rin has one of, if not the best, basic attack card damage in the entire game. So increasing that damage from that card by using the Epiphany upgrade for Strike of Darkness, this one right here, is incredibly good. Then we have Resonating Darkness that says 40% damage of cards with cost 1. That is already really good, because a lot of cards from Rei and from Rin as well cost 1. But you have to get this upgrade right here that says plus 40% damage to all void cards. Not only the ones that cost 1, but to all void cards. And guess what? All of Rin's cards are void cards. And she's all about attacking a lot, using a lot of cards, and therefore making such good use of this. It's a must-have Epiphany upgrade right there. Then we have Snack Time. Select a card from your hand to exhaust. You heal and you draw one. Okay. Now we want to heal more and we want to draw more. With this one right here, draw 2 and heal 150. There is one more viable option here, something that is also absolutely incredible. It is you select 2 cards in your hand to exhaust, and then you can like look for any void card in your draw pile that you want. You can select the card that you want. So that is absolutely incredible, but you have to select 2 cards to exhaust. That's a little bit of a bummer, but you get a card for Rin that you need at a time, 100% guaranteed. This is why this thing is incredible. So again, use either this here with heal 150 and draw 2, or search out the card for Rin that you want at a time. Both are fantastic. Then Dark Condensation. Choose an attack card in your hand and plus 100% damage to this card for 1 turn. Here it applies the exact same scenario, that for 1 turn you gain plus 50% damage to all void attack cards. Not just the one that you choose, but to every single void card. And again, Rin uses a lot of void cards every single turn. She has multiple void attack cards that cost 0 AP and everything else costs just 1. So you make such great use of this Epiphany upgrade. It is insane, right? So again, don't play Rei if you don't play her together with Rin, and look for the Epiphany upgrades for her, because this like changes the character into like the best support in the entire game. When we talk about Rin, it's really incredible. This is a big reason why Rin is one of the best main DPS characters in the entire game, because with that support from Rei, it turns her into an absolute monster. So keep that in mind. But that's it for the video, guys. Those were all the best Epiphany upgrades for every single character in the game, for all the cards that have Epiphany upgrades. Yikes, we did it, boys. So if you like Chaos Zero Nightmare content in general, please consider leaving a follow on my channel. I would really appreciate it. But until next time, don't forget to join the Discord server, link to that in the description down below. Take care of yourselves, have a great day, peace and love.